Now travelers, instead of going to booking Expedia, TripAdvisor, they're just working with ChatGPT. So they don't even really have to see the back end. So they are looking at, not just now planning on an AI product, but they're also potentially going to be booking through an AI product. So they will ask ChatGPT, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to see, what I want to do. It'll give them an itinerary, and then it'll work with the supply partners directly to book everything.
Wow. Because, again, this kid came back with an agenda. Kid, he's 28 years old. Came back with an agenda that was, this is where you're staying, this is where you're going to eat, cars booked, we're going to get a car, here's your flights, recommended flights, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And then the next step would be booking it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
All right. So if I'm the Expedias of the world, what am I doing here?
So they are rolling out their own AI products. It's a little too early to tell if they'll really be able to compete with something like ChatGPT. Expedia has like a really interesting product where you can take social media, like a reel from Instagram, put it into Expedia's AI product, and it'll create an itinerary based off of what you're seeing on Instagram. So it's kind of like you go from just having inspiration for a potential trip, and then it gives you the exact flights, hotels, everything.
Expedia just reported some results. How were they?
They were actually pretty solid. So the real overhang on Expedia for the last year has been the US travel market, which has been pretty stagnant. That has been recovering. Expedia is primarily exposed to the US market. They don't have as big of a global presence as Booking.com. And Expedia's results were pretty solid, strong execution, pointing to a recovering US travel market. So we were pretty pleased just with their execution over the last quarter.
When I look at Expedia, TripAdvisor, bookings, are they kind of the same, totally the same, or are they differentiated?
So Trip, I would say, is differentiated. They've actually changed their platform a lot in the last few quarters. They are now focusing on becoming an experiences booking platform. So if you are looking to book, a cooking class or a wine tasting or a walking tour, you can book that directly on Trip platform. So a little bit different than kind of what Booking Expedia do with hotels and flights.
How's that industry, what's the percentage now that people book through these OTAs versus going to Marriott.com or something like that?
So we have definitely seen, an increase in direct bookings. It's actually hotel partners now are incentivized to maybe work directly with AI partners instead of Booking and Expedia, because if they go direct, if they have a direct booking, they don't have to pay that 15 to 20% commission to OTAs.
Oh, so there's another.
Yes.
So the technology, AI, ChatGPT, whatever you're using, that actually works in favor of the actual hotel,
exactly,
the airline, and all that type of stuff.
Yes. So they now don't need the visibility per se on Booking Expedia.
Yeah, that sounds scary to me.
Yeah.
So as I look at the year-to-date stock price performance, Expedia down 25%, Trip down 32%, Booking down 22%.
Yes.
The market's definitely telling you that they're concerned.
Right.
Is there a less bear case than that? Because, right now we're in an environment where people are throwing everything out the window, software related.
Yes.
Because you don't know where AI is going to go.
Right.
But here's an example. Where you can see it.
Yes. And I think, we are definitely very early in these AI products. So even the bookings product, we've seen examples from Google and from ChatGPT, but they're not necessarily in a place yet where they're going to have a real impact on revenue, at least in maybe the next 6 to 12 months. And I do think we are seeing, an uptick in the overall travel market. So US travel has been improving. We have things like the Winter Olympics, the World Cup later this year, which are going to kind of boost travel. So I think there is kind of a case for at least short-term growth, but there is, the AI overhang still.
So is Airbnb, are they seeing like World Cup stuff? Like I can rent out my New Jersey home for World Cup for the finals?
Yeah, I do think the World Cup, especially for US travel, will have a pretty significant impact. I think we're going to look at, Expedia is probably the most exposed to the US travel market. So if we keep seeing solid execution from them, we could have a strong couple of quarters.